So you struggle with putting yourself out there, whether it's on social media, talking to other humans, peopling, as often a lot of times people say. If you have any struggle when it comes to like having that confidence to be able to have conversations, really know that what you can do is really help people in your business, whether it's in your business or it's in a personal life, you know that like confidence can be a difficult thing, right? You hear from a lot of different people. Some people saying like just force it, or fake it till you make it, or just do things scared. And there's really different ways that we've been able to find and develop confidence, not like how most people think. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We have really powerful guest stars who are going to be on the show really soon. But we really want to make sure that you know that confidence is kind of like a personalized thing. Now, we call it self-confidence rather than confidence, and you'll hear a little bit about that in a minute, but really being able to reframe it in a way that gets us to show up as the best versions of ourselves and allows us to use our abilities of all the things we've been able to create in the past, all the skills, all the talents, everything we've been able to do, and be able to help other people with those skills is really a powerful thing. But being able to tap into your confidence to do that is equally important. Because if you don't tap into that confidence, sometimes people think you lack confidence, and then that lacks the ability of you being able to connect the dots for them, right? And so when we're looking into self-confidence, not only is it something that's going to be able to help you improve how you show up for the world, but it's also going to improve how the world actually sees you, seeing you through that lens. And if you're ready to do that with us, you're ready to find a way of develop your self-confidence on an entirely different level that is not a fake it till you make it kind of approach, well, then let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
So let's go. First off, I want to welcome two amazing humans and coaches and people and moms and all of the different things that they are to the feed today. These are two of our Inner Circle members. We have Erin and we have Shelly, both incredible humans who have really done a lot in the area of confidence. And we want to tap into not only the collective community here, but also like all the different ways that we can use or actually develop confidence in ways that maybe are outside of what we currently think or believe. So guys, I want to welcome you to the show as Erin has all of her kids asking her questions. While she, did you guys know that like as soon as you start recording, that's when all the kids want help. The dog wants to go out to the bathroom. Like somebody comes to your front door. It's just the nature of the beast, right? But we are here and we're pushing forward because this is real life here. This is real life, people. So guys, I want to see if you could do this for me real quick. Shelly, we could start with you. If you could give us an idea of, well, who you are. I know you're Shelly, but kind of what you do in your business, how you help people, and maybe something that you enjoy about the Inner Circle so far.
Sure. My mission statement is to help women live a healthy and happy life through nutrition and mindset shifts, per se, helping them kind of get out of their own head and get past all of the reasons why they can't live a healthy life and just help them propel forward. I recently got certified as a holistic nutritionist to really dive into nutrition for people, as well as being an advanced life and performance coach, so that I can really dive into the mindset and help them get past those limiting beliefs as well. And for the Inner Circle, I just love the community and all the help. If you have a question, there's people there that can help you through it.
Yeah, for sure, Shelly. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of kudos for a little bit because I want to see if I can make you blush. And that is like your power of getting people into their heart voice. So for a lot of you guys are certified life coaches for the program that Josh and I co-created. But Shelly is one of those coaches where when somebody is like going through a tough situation, she is very good at getting people to see not only the opportunities, but seeing how that thing actually can make you stronger and get you to show up in an entirely different way. So Shelly, just want to call out to that because you are one of those people who is just so in tune with the heart voice that you can get people to find a way of getting them to take action. And this has a lot to do with confidence that we're going to talk about here today. Getting them to take action coming from a place of like knowing or being that person in the best version of themselves. So I just wanted to call that out for you because you are such a powerful coach.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Erin, it's your turn, my friend. So, hi. So you want to tell us who you are, even though we all know who you are because this channel wouldn't be running if you weren't here. But who you are, how you help people, and then what's one of your favorite things about the Inner Circle?
I am Erin, and I am a life and performance coach. I help people. My specialty, the thing that I'm the most passionate about, is helping people embrace their authentic selves and show it to the world, no matter what other people think or what they say. That's something that I've struggled with my whole life, and I'm just getting to the point where I feel comfortable doing that. And I want to help other women do that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I know one of the things that you also do is you kind of like help keep everything together for other people and other businesses. For those of you guys who don't know, so Erin's a part of our team here, and she does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And what is so powerful with that is when you tie the ability of being a life and performance coach like she is, being able to ask great questions, and then having her doing some of the behind the scenes stuff. She like runs all of my social media, does all the things inside of the app. Like she's so great at having great conversations that she's kind of like a multiplier. She's like Kurt, where you have somebody who, they don't just add to your team, they multiply your team. And Erin's one of those for us. So Erin, thank you for being an important part of the team. And we love having you here. And I know when it comes to like you guys all say the community, I do believe like our community here is like second to none. I know it might seem like people come here to like learn some of the skills, but it's the community that not only keeps them here, but also just gets them to continue to elevate, including myself. So thankful to have both of you guys here.
Thank you. Yes. My favorite part of the Inner Circle, I forgot to mention that, is definitely the community. I feel like I found my people. So yeah, that's definitely number one for me.
For sure. Okay. So let's get going because Erin's mom is here and we got to make sure that we we do her a solid. Okay. So we're going to start off by just asking some really, really powerful questions. We have Cheryl. What's going on, Cheryl, and Trisha and Gideon and Lori. Look at all the Inner Circle people that we have here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And we got a hi pumpkin. Now that's awesome. Okay. So let's dive into confidence today, guys, because confidence is a lot of not only what we've been already talking about has to do a lot with confidence, right? But it's how we put ourselves out into the world. And really, I honestly believe that it's how we show up in a way that gets other people to feel confident about being their true, authentic self too. And how we do that is by us showing up the way that we want to, right? But I really want to start off by just defining the word confidence, like what confidence means to you. So I'm going to throw it around. We're going to kind of do a round robin. So when you think about the word confidence, like what comes up for you guys? And this could be you too, if you want to.
Yeah, I think for me, confidence is having the ability to take action regardless of what that thing is that you're going for or what's happened in the past or, you know, what you're good at, what you're not good at. It's just knowing that you can do whatever you set your mind to. And if you can't do something or you do have a feeling that maybe you can't do it, then you just figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's confidence for me.
I like it. How about you two? What comes up for you guys? Anything else when it comes up to the word confidence?
Well, for me, it's the belief in ourselves and then being able to put ourselves out there and sharing that message and knowing and believing in that message.
I love it. Erin, were you going to say something?
So for me, I go back to Mel Robbins on this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record alluding to her, but she says confidence is a skill and it's the willingness to try. So yes, I absolutely agree with you both. Putting yourself out there and being willing to try, do it messy, learn from it, and come back stronger.
Yeah, 100%. When I think about the word confidence, when I was going through my life coach certification, she kind of differentiated between the word confidence and the word self-confidence. And that's something that my brain always goes back to. The way she described it is confidence is something that is based in the past. Like you've done it before So you're confident that you're going to be able to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I think about it is like, if I'm going to pour a cup of water, I'm pretty confident that I can pour it and actually not make it come out all over the counter. However, if it's a shake, it's going to make powder all over the place, and Teresa's going to yell at me for it. But when it comes to like confidence, it's like we think about things that we've done in the past and whether or not that means that we're going to be able to do them in the future. And there might be moments when that serves us, but it doesn't serve us if we're doing something new, right? And so that's where she was tapping into this whole idea of like self-confidence. And the way that she framed it, which helps me to frame it, is self-confidence is having full confidence in yourself, despite any outside evidence that it's going to happen or it's going to be possible, knowing that there are only two possible outcomes. Either you succeed the first time you do it, or you learn. And knowing that like the worst thing that you're going to feel is a feeling if you don't do it well, but also knowing that you're going to learn so much from that experience because you're doing it, helps me tap into a different place. And it's not a just do it when you're scared, right? It's doing it knowing that no matter if you succeed or not, you're going to learn something from it, whether to keep doing it this way or to do it a different way, right? And that's really what it's about. I know I kind of talked about this last week, is like a lot of people think of the word bravery, right? What they don't realize is that in order to feel brave, you must first feel fear, right? And so that can help us reframe in terms of like, well, I'm brave. Well, that means that I have to feel fear first, right? And being able to have that kind of relationship is not a just fake it till you make it or just push through. It's a different relationship that you have with it of like, oh, this is actually evidence that I'm going to learn so much through this experience. And if I can lean into that and tell myself the story that gets me to feel like I'm actually showing up the way that I want to, like that's how you develop more self-confidence, right? Mm-hmm. She said it's not the unwillingness, or it's not fear that prevents you. It's the unwillingness to feel it and to do something different, right? And to follow through. Mm-hmm. So I really like all of those different examples. And I want to move on to the next one, which is like, can you share experience where you had to build confidence in a challenging situation? Because a lot of us feel like everybody's just bored with confidence, right? And I know Erin was like talking about like you develop confidence because it's a skill, right? And so when you think about like actual challenging situations, can you give me an example, maybe a personal experience where you had to build confidence in a challenging situation? I know I'm kind of looking at you, but I'm looking at everybody really.
Right now?
I'll go first. So, I mean, there's so many examples, right? Because I think when you're going through a journey of growth, you're going to experience so many events where you have to tap into that confidence, right? Or you just build that confidence. And I think for me, I mean, this example is like being on video. Okay, so I do not like doing presentation. I do not like doing videos, lives especially. I have gotten better, right? My confidence has improved because I did it so many times. But it was those times when I felt like I couldn't do it, or something was going to happen. Like I was going to mess up on the words, or, all of those things that go through your mind when you're about to do something new. It's just about doing it anyway, knowing that if you do fail, like you said, or if you do something wrong, you make a mistake, you can learn from it and then do something different later. So as that went on, and as I kept doing the thing that I feared the most, I got better at it. So that improved my confidence with that area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you ever think about that? Like when you're trying something new and you think, well, I've done this other thing without feeling confident and was able to develop the self-confidence from that, so I can do this thing too?
Yeah, all the time. And I also, use that with my clients as well. When we're, trying to figure out kind of like that new reframing that story, it's like, well, this area for you may be scary because you've never done it before, but you've done so many other things, right? In your life, there are so many things that you've done that you never did before, but you ended up doing it because you knew you had to do it, and you developed that confidence in that area. So let's pull that energy. Let's pull the stuff that we were thinking about, what stories we had in our head when we were doing those things that actually let us, keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. How about you two? Anything come up for you?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it's not a specific example. It's life in general. Mm-hmm. I was such a shy, introverted child all the way through university and such. And as I started to get my goals and my dreams, I realized that I had to get out of my comfort zone, and I had to start developing confidence in the things that I was scared to do, such as speaking in front of people. I couldn't even do a presentation in school. I skipped them and I got zeros on them because I wouldn't do them. But I just needed to develop that confidence, and also to be able to help people. I can't help people if I can't share my message. So I've had to do it many, many times over the last few years and develop that confidence.
Yeah. And look at you now. You're like, Mom, look, no hands.
Yeah.
Erin, something come up for you?
Shelly, it's like we're the same person. That was me my whole life. I can't tell you how many times I just skipped the presentation or actually ran out of the classroom in tears because I just froze up and couldn't do it. Forgot all the words, like all of them. Yeah, so right now, being here right now is huge for me. And I'm so thankful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's overcoming a lot just being here.
Well, let me ask you, Erin, like, how do you get yourself to show up here and not turn around and run out the door as we're having a conversation? Because I feel like a lot of people are there, right? They're like, man, like I'm where Erin and Shelly used to be. And now I see them here on YouTube, sitting confidently, sharing their ideas, their strategies, and doing that stuff from an uncomfortable place. But how do you get yourself to do that?
For me, I spent the week preparing. So I first try to narrow down with myself, what is it that I'm nervous about? Am I nervous about the questions? Okay, let's look at the questions and kind of fill something out and make some notes. Okay, tick that box off. I'm not nervous about it anymore. Am I nervous about being on camera? All right, make myself a little presentable. And you know, I just kind of, I have to go down the list of what it actually is that's freaking me out. And then once I've done that, I can calm down and just kind of be present in the moment. And Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Yep.
I love that, because you're kind of seeing things and then challenging them, right? Because you're like, okay, well, what am I afraid of? Okay, well, what's going to get me to not be afraid of that thing before it happens? And I love that you're just like, you're challenging yourself and you're challenging that, you know, like that scared mindset, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to hit on this in a few minutes, but like a lot of times we do label ourselves as like introverts because it makes us feel okay by not leaning into these kind of things, right? I know it's crazy, but all 4 of us are introverts on here.
Well, also we sometimes don't understand what introvert and extrovert mean.
100%.
It's something completely different than what we think.
100%. And I remember when I used to subscribe to that label of being an introvert. And how can you be an introvert and like be able to do videos and trainings and all that kind of stuff? And the answer is you stop like labeling yourself an introvert and instead realize that, oh, you just get recharged when you're not around other people. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be around other people, right? I know, Erin, we've been talking about this in the Success Pod that you're part of. You're like, I'm starting to socialize. I'm the most socialized, unsocialized person. Being able to talk to people is like bringing me to life. And it was crazy. Like even just having that conversation last week about like, wait, so all of these stories that you told yourself about being an introvert, actually, when you're reaching out and you're having conversations, you feel great about it afterwards. And yes, you need to recover, but it was kind of like an aha moment that I saw for you is like, wow, so maybe I don't have to be tied to this identity that I have of myself. And all that it's doing is like getting me to feel safe, right? Now, a lot of people don't know this, and we got to have a presentation very, very soon, is Erin is like a professional flutist. And she gets in front of people and she like uses the flute like she's the boss. All right. And it's crazy because when we think about that, I mean, it's really no different than right now. You know, you're just having a conversation, but you truly step into it. You're like, this is me playing the part. And whenever you do, you always are like, and everybody said it was so great and it was so awesome. Right. And so there are also some things like in other areas where we do have confidence, right? Where we feel like, you know what, I'm confident in this area, that we can ask ourselves, okay, how did I get myself to be confident in this area? And by actually analyzing that, then you can actually move it over into a new area and then be able to use that to develop confidence there. Does that make sense? Yeah. And we should have asked you to bring the flute so we could have heard something today. But yeah, and so when I think about this whole building confidence in challenging situations, I mean, like Teresa said, there's like 1,000,001 different situations that I've personally been through and that I've seen other people go through. One of the things that comes to mind is when it's like a tough situation where you want to speak up, either speak up for someone else or speak up for yourself, right? That for me is my key, that this is the greatest opportunity for me to develop confidence. So one of the things was I was a part of a group for dads who wanted to become better fathers and better husbands. And they were going through and they were like having teaching and training and stuff like that. And an opportunity came up after I gave like a little mini presentation where they were like, we really loved like how Mark showed up and what his energy was like. And I decided that I was going to reach out to the owners and ask them if I could take on more of a leadership role inside of the group. And I was extremely nervous about that because when you see everybody else and you start comparing yourself to other people, you're like, well, why would I do that? Like, what are they going to say? Like what? But it was like an opportunity for me to step into it for two reasons. Number one is because like, if I stepped into that and said, hey, this is what I'm like looking to do, it kind of like plants my flag in the ground and now they're going to be paying attention to me. Right. But the second thing is, even if they said no, I'm going to follow it up with like, what can I do to become better at what it is that I'm doing so that I could have this as an opportunity? And we tend to forget that when we put ourselves out there, there's so much opportunity for growth, because if they say no, then we can just ask them like, what could we do better? And that is how we can really grow exponentially fast, is not trying to guess in our brains how we could grow, but actually being able to get feedback from someone who's watching us, from somebody who has that feedback, right? And it's not always the best feedback, but it is something that I can use to learn and grow from. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this. What strategies or techniques have you guys found to be effective when it comes to boosting your confidence levels? I know we talked about a couple of them, but what are some things that come up for you guys when you think about how can you boost your confidence? Is there anything that you specifically do? I know, Erin, you said, going through the checklist, really it's using logic to attack all of those beliefs that you have, right? And putting the checkbox in Erin's column instead of like that other things column, and building that up. But is there anything else that you guys do?
I find for me, I have to take messy action. I'm a researcher. I'll read all the books. I'll watch all the videos, but I don't take action. So I found once I started taking action, whether I knew everything or not, that is how I developed my confidence, by just doing it no matter what. And putting myself in the room with others doing it, it helps to give that little bit of boost as well. I find those two things really helped.
100%. So being in the right room, and then basically the story you're telling yourself of like, it's all about messy action, right? Just as long as I'm taking action, I can improve action, as opposed to you can't improve inaction, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Erin, were you going to say something?
Yeah. So for me, turning nerves into excitement, because in our bodies, nerves and excitement, our bodies don't recognize the difference, but it's our brain that differentiate. So that realization hit me, and it was like, wow. So if I tell myself I'm so excited, like I did this morning, and I'm preparing for this right now, I'm so excited, it actually becomes what I'm telling myself subconsciously. And I felt excited. So yeah, even if it's something that's not particularly exciting, still think of an outcome that what are you going to get out of it at the end? And you can be excited about that and turn it that way.
I love it. It's kind of like, what can I be excited about in this situation, right? And sometimes the stuff in the middle isn't the most exciting, but sometimes in the end, if you focus your brain on like what this is going to produce and what the end product's going to be, it can help you get through that other challenging piece, right? And I love that definition, like you said, because we get to decide the direction our brain takes it. Most people don't think that you can, but when you understand like the concepts that we teach here on this channel and the concepts that we teach in life coaching, you can control that to go, wait, no, I'm feeling this way because this is really important to me and I'm super excited about it. And it's going to be like a great opportunity, rather than, oh, there must be something wrong because I have, stomach ache or, butterflies in my stomach kind of thing. Realizing, wow, oh, so that's why this is happening, because I'm so excited about the opportunities that this is going to bring.
Yeah.
And I just want to show up on my A game. Being able to flip that around is awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do you have anything? I have something.
Yeah, I do. It's really about hanging out with people who are confident, because success leaves clues, and I want to see like what it is that they do that boosts their confidence. I know that I have a workshop coming up next week, and I was really nervous about it, but I know that this guy right here is really great at presentations and workshops, and I love his input, but I also try to like emulate like his energy, because that is really important to have in things like that, in workshops and presentations and lives. And I try to see like what it is that, like, obviously he has energy like naturally, but there are other things that really pump him up. Like, he listens to something to really pump him up before a workshop. So I try to see like what other people do so that I can replicate that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, a couple of you guys said this, like the people that you hang around with, right? And it is like, if you feel like you're by yourself on your own like island, it makes it so much harder to get yourself to do that. But if you have other people, which is like we were talking about earlier, Shelley's heart voice, right? It's so much easier when you get to listen to everybody else talking about you in their heart voice. You're like, oh wow, maybe I can do this, right? You have those people who are like the cheerleaders for you that you need to help you get across the line, right? It's always really powerful to be able to do that. One of the things that I've been able to tap into, very similar, was like a mentor, right? Finding a mentor who really believes in you. So there's this quote about like riding on the coattails of somebody else's belief until you have enough belief in yourself that you can offer your coattails to someone else. And I really love that idea, because it's like sometimes we may not believe in ourselves as much as we can or could, right? But if somebody else believes in us and we really deeply respect that person, that belief gets transferred into us, right? I mean, it's also the reason why, like when I'm having a session with someone and I notice that they lack some type of belief, and I know the type of person how they're wired, and I can help ask them questions to pull it out. But one of the things that I typically will do is when I think about like confidence, for example, and getting on a call and doing coaching or selling a program or doing something like that, I want to remind people what you said earlier, and that is the mountains that they have previously climbed. And so I'll ask them, I'll be like, well, tell me about a hard situation that you went through outside of the area of business or wherever we're talking about right now, and how you got yourself to show up and actually overcome it, right? And some people talk about like hardships they had around business, around family, around, health and wellness and all of these kind of things. And I'm like, so you've done this before, right? And what that people tend to forget, and I tend to forget this too, is like your entire life, everything that you've learned, everything that you've gone through, all the lessons that you've been through, all the struggles, all the things you've overcome, all the resilience that you've pulled from the past, you literally have it still right now. And you get to give that to anyone else that you want to have a conversation with. And when I think about like all of the things that I get to bring into a coaching session or YouTube here, it doesn't scare me of like, I don't know what I'm going to say. The awesome part is like, wow, like I've got a lot to give, and I'm just going to see what comes up as we go. And I'm just going to give it my best, right? And use all of the things that I went through in my 46 years on this planet to be able to help this person, because they haven't been through the same experiences as me, right? And by being able to tap into that, it helps me build that confidence, because it reminds me of how far I've come, which is awesome to remember from time to time, because there's also another place that we want to go, but don't forget how far you've come, because you climbed a mountain. This is just a different mountain, but you also now know how to climb mountains. You know what shoes to wear, where to stop, all that kind of stuff. And you would have not had that if you hadn't had your past experiences. So there are times when we can use our past experiences for us. Okay, let's go to the next question. Is like, how do you handle self-doubt or negative self-talk when trying to build confidence? This is something we're actually reading a book inside of our book club. It is from Gary John Bishop. It talks a lot about negative self-talk and how this negative self-talk kind of like is the, I don't know, what is it called? It's the symptoms to what's going on in our subconscious mind. And when we talk negative to ourselves, we realize that we don't show up the way that we want to, right? We start to believe that stuff. So I'm curious, have you guys ever had any self-talk? I'm sure not, right? Never. And what do you do to get past it to help build that confidence?
Well, for me, I just ask myself questions. If I catch myself being in that negative space, I ask myself, what kind of person do I want to become and what actions do I need to take to get there? And being a negative in that negative space is not going to get me there. So I do that. And then I remind myself of where I want to go with my goals and my vision. And it helps me get into that positive space and out of that negative self-talk.
I like it. I like it. I know a lot of you guys also help clients through this too. So it could even be like, how do you help clients like get through that negative self-talk space? I know, Shelly, what you were just talking about is something that I do a lot, is like thinking about like, oh, wow, like my brain is just meant to kind of like get me to be comfortable and to use my past against me, but it's just trying to keep me safe. But in reality, I can refocus it on what I want, the impact that I'm going to make. What's going to happen when I overcome this struggle? How is it going to make me be able to help so many more people going through this struggle right now? And when you flip it to that area, to your heart, it gets you to show up the way that you more want to, and you learn so much through that lesson, right? So I'm curious, Erin or Teresa, what do you guys have?
I think I just get curious because if I find myself, and there are times when I find myself, with the negative self-talk a lot. And then there are times that it's not as bad, but I just get curious about like why I'm feeling that way. Like what's the surrounding circumstances, and why do I feel this way? And I start to kind of bring logic into it. Like, is this just my emotions trying to take over? Or like you said, hey, it's something new and it's uncomfortable and my brain is just trying to keep me safe. Why is that? So I just get curious. And then that really kind of helps me like have like an outside perspective in a sense. Obviously there's only so far you can go with like self-coaching, kind of like how Getting said. But I get curious. And then if I feel like it's just continuing and I can't really get out of it, then I seek some help and, some outside, someone else who can actually walk me through kind of like the framework that we use to kind of pinpoint why it is that there's this constant negative self-talk that's going on, and so I can correct it.
Yeah. And I love that a lot, because some people, I mean, I know a lot of you guys know that I wrote a book around mastering your life through self-coaching, and some people think that's always the solution to it. And the answer is it's not, because a lot of the limiting beliefs and this negative self-talk that we've had over our entire life, we have this filter that we believe that stuff is true. And so just turning it to positive sometimes is not the best solution for us, and being able to verbalize it and say it out loud. I know for me, like I'll go on a walk with Teresa and I'll just start asking her questions and getting to hear it from her, which she's like my walking heart voice. And then it gets me to realize, oh, maybe these things are not true. Right. And so being able to have that person or a team or a coach or somebody to verbalize it to is really important, because I remember hearing this is like the place that created the problem is generally not the place where you're going to find the solution.
Your brain.
Yeah. And so even with self-coaching, like I get coached by somebody on the outside, they give me awareness, which is going to be our next question. And when I get awareness, now I can use that to coach myself. But before that, when I didn't have the awareness, I can't coach myself through it because I'm not really fully aware. And sometimes my brain will trick me into thinking that I know what the reason is, but I don't until I verbalize it out loud. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that's the case. Yeah. So 100%. Erin, did you have something to add to that?
Really just piggybacking off of what Shelly and Teresa said, and you, just asking yourself questions. And is the negative self-talk a fact or a story? If it's a fact, what can I do about it? If it's a story, how can I reframe it? And just very open about letting my kids see this process too, because I want them to see me walking through it so they know how to do it themselves. So that whole process is important to me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what you hit right there on the end is like, it's usually my driving factor in all of the things. So when I talk about heart voice, I always think about the impact that I'm going to make on my family, on Teresa and the kids. And that's the thing that gets me to show up. I wish I could say that thinking about like how Mark is going to, respond or react, or the things that is going to get Mark is going to help me, but it doesn't fuel me like that. But when I think about the impact it's going to make my family, and practicing this and verbalizing it out loud when I make mistakes or when I do things or when I feel like I'm uncomfortable or whatever, right? It gets my kids to go, oh, okay, so you can feel uncomfortable and you can still do it, right? So it gets them to be curious. So you're 100% right, Erin. So let's talk about this real quick. And that is like this whole process of like self-awareness, right? So being able to be aware of what's going on and that your brain is trying to convince you to not do this thing so it can stay safe is a big deal, like to become aware of it, because you can't help or fix the problem if you don't know what the problem is, right? So I'm curious, like, how do you guys, like, how are you able to become aware of when your brain is doing this? And do you have any kind of like strategies or any mechanisms or systems or anything that you use to get past it?
Why do you look at me first?
I always look at you because I don't know.
So I think I've become aware of things. And of course, like I said, you can only go so far with self-coaching, right? So you become self-aware of some of the things that are going on, but that's only if it comes up to, you know, it's in your conscious mind, right? There's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, but there's something that peeks out. And usually like it's a little bit easier for me because I'm like trained with, you know, the framework of understanding like, okay, what are some of the facts that are going on and how is this making me feel? How is this making me think? And that's becoming aware of how those situations are triggering me, right? So I guess my brain kind of works that way now because I stop to think, okay, like what is happening? Like, what is the situation that has triggered this kind of awareness in me that I'm thinking like I'm not good enough or whatever that may be, right? But then I know that the best way is to kind of like bounce ideas off of someone else. So I usually come to you and I'm like, hey, you know, this is what I'm thinking. And then you ask me questions and I become a little bit more aware of what's going on and kind of go like levels deeper, right? Because it's really hard to do it alone sometimes. So I try to do that where I'm like, okay, I don't want to stay here for too long. Like I know that sometimes we just need to become aware and kind of like feel the feelings, but I want to move on and I want to see what I can do. And I'll ask somebody else to kind of like help me through it.
Yeah. And we had a couple of people like make some comments and stuff like this saying that they struggle with negative self-talk and all that kind of stuff and reframing and things like that. And the thing that my brain always goes to is get some help with it. Like you cannot outthink your brain. It's meant to keep you safe. It was literally designed that way, and it will keep doing all of what it's programmed to do. It's kind of like a computer, right? It's got like Windows 95, all right? And you're trying to run all the new apps on it, and it's like, I ain't doing that. I'm only running Windows 95. And it's the difference between having somebody else come in from the Geek Squad. By the way, the kids called me the Geek Squad the other day. But anyway, so you have somebody come in from the Geek Squad. You're like, let's update this software. And you have that person be able to update your software. So now you can run all of the new apps on it, right? And that's kind of like how I like to think about like our brain is like, it's this system that has been wired for decades and decades and decades. So you can't think yourself through and honestly read a book through to be able to rewire your brain. You have to get some good help from somebody who knows how to do that, who can, like you said, ask you those really powerful questions. And then when you find those things, right? When you find your version of self-sabotage, when you find your version of self-talk, then you can rewrite what we do is rewrite an affirmation for our clients to help them kind of like in the morning before they actually get on their path of taking action so they can start to reframe their mind. One of the things that I do, I have an affirmation. I actually just copied it and pasted it to make sure you guys could see this is, I have an affirmation. It says, I see fear as the fuel for my success, and I take action, bold action, in spite of fear. This is me understanding that my trigger is fear. And when I feel fear, that to me is like, I'm on the right path. I must be on the right path if my brain is trying to convince me not to do this. And I do sometimes what Erin does, where I think about it logically and I go, what do I really fear here? And when I was a police officer, there was real fear, okay? And so I really would actually want to listen to my brain at that point. But 99% of the time, there is no fear. It's like, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing, or I'm going to do the wrong thing, or people are going to think this, or whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, but like, what is it going to be like if I don't do it at all? Like, how many people can I help if I just keep my mouth closed and don't say anything, right? And that is like how I'm able to reframe it, is I take that affirmation and I say it every morning to remind myself that fear is the indication that I'm on track. And so when I have this feeling of fear, which is my trigger, I start to experience fear. I'm like, oh, wait, this is a great opportunity for me to develop self-confidence. And now I can analyze it instead of just immediately running the opposite direction. I can sit down and analyze it and make a decision. Am I going to do this or not? Sometimes I decide not to, but it's conscious decision, yes or no, not what my brain immediately throws at me. It's me examining it, kind of like what Erin was saying, going through the checklist and making a decision if I'm going to go there or not, right? So being able to find those affirmations based off of you and where your negative self-talk is really powerful, which is why, like, when you recommended, like, getting someone else is such a key component to this. Because if you try and do it all yourself, it's very easy for your brain to keep convincing you not to do it or not to try something new, right? I mean, our brains are super smart. As we get smarter and you guys all become coaches, guess what? Your head voice gets super smart too. And it's like, oh, really? Well, I'm going to outthink this again, right? So you can't possibly know. And so it'll do everything it can to flash lights and go, you're not ready to do this. Like, all of these things to get you off track. And your job is like, oh, let me talk to someone else so I can verbalize this out loud. Somebody that I trust, right? And by doing that, it's going to help me verbalize and walk through this. And so it'll be something else that I'll be able to get through. Does that make sense? Okay. You too. Self-awareness. I think we talked a lot about that. Did we take all your guys' thunder or what?
Well, self-awareness is everything. I don't really have anything new to add, except, like, you can't change something or take charge of something that you're not consciously aware of. So just constantly thinking through things and asking yourself the questions and, being alone with your thoughts. For me, that's important. I need that. It's all very important.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I actually am working with a client right now who's a little bit afraid of asking those kind of questions, a little bit afraid of being like in her thoughts. But like you said, like, if you don't get to explore that and see where it's coming from and get to the root of the problem, you're only going to put a Band-Aid on a broken arm, right? And so by being able to have that conversation and being able to hear it and see it out loud, it's kind of one of those things, like, people say, oh, if you don't know, it can't hurt you. And I'm like, it absolutely can hurt you, and it's going to hurt you over repeatedly until you're willing to get deep enough to be able to find what's actually holding you back. And what's crazy is, like, when you think about confidence, I wish there was one thing that I could teach you guys that, like, everybody would just have as much confidence in the world. But we're all built differently. We've all got past experiences. We've all been through different traumas. We've all tried different things. We've all been through and been around other people in our lives who maybe told us that we could do it or that we can't do it, or we're smart, or that we're dumb, or whatever. And all of those things really build up, which is why confidence is really a personal thing. It's really being able to help somebody guide you through that process, so that once you understand your flavor, then you can go to a different path. Yeah. All right. I keep saying, does that make sense? So I'm going to try and not say that. So Shelly, what do you got? Anything?
I think for me, self-awareness, it's allowed me to take corrective actions. Like, I'll catch myself with the wrong thought, not the wrong thoughts, but thoughts that are more negative. And I would normally take a certain action, the more self-sabotage action, but I'll catch myself because I'm aware of what my brain is doing. And I will take a better action that will bring me closer to my goals instead of staying stuck where I don't want to be.
I like that. So let me ask you, like, when you think about that, what kind of impact has that had on you, where you have been able to, instead of go down that path, be able to reframe it and find a different way? Curious what kind of, like, things that has that done for you?
It has really directed my time towards working on my goals, as opposed to, just sitting playing games, that sort of thing. It's really, really helped me be aware of what actions I'm taking and what I don't want to be doing, and taking the actions I do want to take.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. For those of you guys, I know a lot of you guys are life coaches. For those of you who aren't life coaches, some of the things that we don't realize is sometimes the stories that we tell ourselves, or the negative self-talk, actually gets us into not only, like, not taking the actions that we want to take, but in the opposite direction, where it's actually pulling us further away from our goals. And it is a big waste of time, a big waste of energy. And there's nothing positive that comes from you beating yourself up.
Mhm.
I know a lot of times I used to feel like I deserve to beat myself up because I didn't do this or I showed up this way. And at no point did that ever make me better. At no point did that get me to show up and model the behavior that I wanted to for my kids. Because I like to think about this, like our kids think that we're like Superman, Superwoman, super whatever, right? They think the best of us, at least when they're little, right?
Mhm.
And if I'm the person who's like beating myself up, what are they going to think about themselves when they see me beating myself up, right? And so I always want to make sure that I reframe it in terms of like, actually, this is an opportunity for me to be okay with myself because I know that I want to show up as the best version of me. And if I get into what I learned from this situation or how I could show up differently next time, I'm not going to be wasting that time or energy. And every time it's crazy. It doesn't seem like it would move the needle that much, but it's like a complete 180, right? Instead of going down this path of like buffering, going down the path of the opposite of your goals, it slowly gets you to go in this other direction. And it is like, it's one of those things where I know we're doing a video after this talking about the compound effect. It really helps you to create like some really incredible results after you start becoming that person who just shows up that way, right? And I know that's you too, Shelly, and you too, Erin, is like when you can reprogram your mind to see these as opportunities. It doesn't happen on autopilot yet until you get really, really good with it. But the more that you do it, the more you put a checkbox in your lane of confidence, right? It's when you say you're going to do something for yourself and you do it. Every time that you do that, you put a checkbox in your confidence, your self-confidence column, right? And the more that you're able to do that and have that relationship with yourself where you're like, I said I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, the more confidence you have, but also the more energy that you have, even when you're sharing this with other people. I know Teresa was kind of talking about this, like my energy level. And a lot of my energy level has to do with me thinking about the impact that I want to make, how I want to help people, like who needs to hear my message today. And it's focused on the future of what I want to bring and all the things that I've been able to do in the past. How can I bring them into today to give someone that moment that they needed here on this video? And I'm not making it mean something about me, which is what confidence does. Confidence means that if I do this, then I'm gonna look stupid or whatever, right? I'm making it about me. And whenever I'm doing these things, I'm like, it's not about me. It's actually about you. It's about me connecting with someone else, me being able to help someone a little bit more, right? And when I make it about them, it removes me from the equation. And that's what helps me develop that self-confidence, is making it about them and not about me. So let's end with this, guys. I do want to give people an opportunity on where they can connect with you. If there's somebody who's here on the channel who really wants to connect with you guys to get some help around self-confidence. But I want to end with this. Like from all of the things that we shared today, what is one thing you want to make sure that the audience pulls from today? The reason why I say that is because sometimes when we're on here, we can hear all of these different ideas and strategies, and they can sound all awesome. But if we don't like really narrow it down to the one big takeaway that I want to get from this, and what's an action that I'm going to commit to as a result of this, it's very easy to think that we're growing when in reality we're not. We're just consuming, right? So I'm curious, if you had to boil this down, what is like one piece of advice, one action, one thought, one thing that you would love to make sure that people take away from today's call?
I think for me, so as far as negative self-talk, it takes a lot of energy to continue to do that. And why not shift that focus into improving your confidence? So if you struggle with energy, both mentally and physically, you're better off putting that energy into improving and boosting your confidence rather than focusing on negative self-talk.
I love it. I love it. I love it. How about you two?
I would say that if someone is scared to do something, do it anyway. That's how you can build your confidence.
Erin, what do you got?
I would say a lot of us have mentioned the introspection and the asking yourself questions and guiding yourself through it. So I would say lean into that. It tends to be uncomfortable to look inward and go through that process, but it really is important.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think if there's one thing that I want to share, it's something that Teresa said, and that is like, get help. Get someone else to help you out. Kind of what we were saying before, like what created the problem is generally not where you're going to find the solution. And sometimes it may feel comfortable to be able to say, oh, I can coach myself and I can walk myself through it. But you all know yourselves. You know where you can potentially get the most, not only not only the most feedback, but also take the most action based off of you and your personality. So really knowing like who you are, sometimes our brains can convince us that we can do this on our own, right? It's the reason why we have the inner circle, right? I love to be able to take some of the people from the inner circle and bring them here to you guys to show you what it's like, not only to be a part of the community, but be able to learn from everybody else's strengths. Because what Shelly and Erin's strengths are different than Teresa's, which are different than mine. And it's the power of being able to tap into that and being able to hear other people's stories. But really, it's about the community piece where you can get some additional help. You can get some support. And of course, we have different programs to help you, success pods and one-on-ones and things like that to get you even more coaching. But it's about finding somebody who can help you. Whether it's us or not is irrelevant. Really, it's about like, this is a team sport. Life, success, business, all of these things, it's a team sport. One is always too small a number for success. So look for someone else to be able to tap into to help you, especially somebody who's been there through it before and has the tools to be able to help you successfully navigate it. Okay, so Shelly and Erin, if people get to this point and they would like to connect with you, what is the best way that they can connect with you? Shelly, we'll start with you.
Probably email shelleybyers5@gmail.com, or Instagram. I'm on there as well, or Facebook. I'm pretty much everywhere.
Okay, cool. And send me all those links so I can put them in the description as soon as we get done here. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Good. And Erin, how can people connect with you?
I am on Facebook mostly, Instagram also. On Facebook, it's just my name, Erin Rauch. On Instagram, it's the.empowered.mom. And then email, I'll send you that.
Yeah, it's totally up to you whether you want to supply the email. But one of the things that I do want to call out to is Erin. Yes, she's an extremely powerful coach and she can help coach you through things. But if you are also somebody who's running a business who wants some help like behind the scenes, Erin does a tremendous job of doing that, of finding the right people, finding people not only for me and Teresa to be able to help, but even the conversations that she has levels up everything. So if you're someone who you have a lot of tasks on your hand, or maybe you don't like having that behind the scene DMs back and forth of a million different messages, Erin loves it and she's created it because she's a powerful coach. So if you're someone who is looking for somebody behind the scenes to be able to help you, I know we don't have enough spots on Erin's calendar for everyone, but if you're somebody who would be interested in that, definitely reach out to her or even reach out to me and I can connect you with Erin because she's a really powerful VA and a coach, just like Shelly is a really powerful coach. Definitely reach out to them. They have a ton of great stuff on their social media accounts and also a lot of services and stuff that they can offer you. So all right, guys, I appreciate everybody for leaning in, for being willing to develop this confidence. And like we were saying earlier, like when it comes to self-confidence, it's like that whole idea of being brave, right? It's the willingness to feel it and to do it anyway, because you have, whether it's you're focused on the people that you want to help, the impact that you want to make, what you were put here on this planet to do, all of the things that you've been through, all of the struggles that you're able to walk people through so they don't have to experience that. It's just reminding yourself of the story that's going to help you show up in a way that gives you the best opportunity for success, knowing that only two things can happen. Either you're going to succeed with it or you're going to grow. And I'm not sure about you guys, but most of the things that I do right now is because I grew, not because it happened first. All the things we talk about here about building a business you love, connecting deeper with your family and getting into best physical, mental shape of your life, all of those things I totally screwed up. And because I did, and I was able to successfully navigate through it and lose 100 pounds, get into great shape and be able to retire from my police career, now gives me the opportunity to be able to help you guys do some of these things too. And it's the opportunity that you have every single day. So keep fighting for it. Keep showing up the way that you need to show up. And if there's anything we can ever do, don't hesitate to reach out. All right. You guys have an incredible weekend. Spend some great time with your family. And we'll see you guys next Saturday. And we're going to have a really powerful call about how to actually attract more of the right clients. Next call is just for the inner circle. But if you're somebody who's a part of the inner circle, we're going to really break down how to attract the right clients and find more people of the right people that you truly want to work with. So if that's something you're interested in, you're not in the inner circle, definitely hook it up. I'll leave all the links in the show notes. Thank you for what you do out there every single day and keep leading from the front. Bye, everybody.
Bye.